Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Glady Baradaran, Danica, Meredith, and Kondwani, Mwase. The question I would like to ask is, what is the difference between employee empowerment and employee autonomy? Glady, can you kick us off?
If you asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh, they're kind of the same. But when I look at it, I say they're really different. And one of them is much better than the other. Employee autonomy is when you give this sandbox to somebody, you give them the few tools, they know the job from A to Z, and they kind of can decide and autonomously do whatever they have to do in that sandbox. Mm-hmm. Very functional, not much enlightened. It's just small, but it's better than nothing.
Okay.
For me, the employee empowerment is in another level. So a real leader would not just only give a sandbox to their employee. It would give them the power to trust. It would give them the power to think and have a seat at the right table. It would back them up to make the right decisions, and even if they make wrong decisions, to how to correct it and learn from it. So it has that other level of understanding between the employee and the manager. And obviously, there's no micromanagement in there for sure.
Yeah, what you just said really resonates with me, Gladys, in the sense that when I was thinking about this topic a little bit, my first inclination was to say these things are kind of the exact same. But really, empowerment does feel like autonomy plus, right? That extra level that just says, not only will I allow you to do your quote unquote tasks or your mandate with a little bit of space, like I won't be over your shoulder, so to speak, but you are empowered, pardon the pun, but you're given the keys to the car to actually make a critical decision, right? Mm-hmm. It's that decision-making power that I think drives a wedge between these two terms and actually really transforms one from the other. And that's kind of like my initial gut instinct. It's really about that decision-making that changes the dynamics between these two concepts.
So the authority, where the authority lies.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
I was thinking about the words. So empowerment has the word power in it. So I think Glady and then Kondwani, you were getting to that, Robyn, when you said where the authority lies. Yeah, empowerment, you have that element of power, but you've been empowered. So it doesn't come from you. I might say, hey, I'm going to take the reins or I'm going to drive, but actually empowerment has to be conferred on you from somebody else. It's external. Autonomy, auto, is the self. So if you have an autonomous car, it's a self-driving car, but we don't want it to make decisions, right? And we've seen with some of the testing, like we really want it to be programmed. Here's how you drive that road, and not doing any kind of funky things. So it comes from the self. It's internal. And in some ways, in the agile movement, we look at autonomous teams. But I've seen in some cases, some people are not comfortable with that. We've grown up in a hierarchical organizational work structure, and some of us really hate that, and some of us maybe don't. But this is pretty much, if you're over 25, this is how you've grown up at work. And when you confer that power, either you're empowering someone or you're saying you are autonomous. Go, you got your tools, go do what you got to do. Some are like jumping in and some are kind of frozen. What am I supposed to do? Second guessing themselves? What if I get it wrong? What's the clear deliverable? So I like this question because I think it's internal, external. Where does the power lie? But then also, what is the result or outcome you're driving to? And are you able to get to that? Then also, when you get to that, whatever the end result is, I'm going to make this thing. Are you rewarded?
The question I had too is, where does the buck stop? If there's a problem, where does the blame go? And I feel like if you have autonomy, you're on your own. Good luck. If you've been empowered, if there's a problem, you have someone you can go to say, I have a problem. That's kind of what the difference for me.
It basically ties you to somebody who, as Danica was saying, like that power is quote unquote bestowed on you. It does imply a sort of like an underlying support system. Is that what you're
I feel like it does. Yeah. If I'm empowered, it means that somebody has said to me, you can do this job. You're great. I can help you. I'll fly cover for you, basically.
And I provide you the psychological safety for you to be able to function in that. And obviously, there is somebody accountable. But as a leader, if I'm making a mistake and my boss empower me to do so, I feel like it's a shared accountability.
Mhm.
So that leader can jump in and save the situation and you learn from it. Because then if you get punished for it, then you would never want to be having that empowerment. It's like, oh no, that's too much for me. I can't be dealing with it, you know.
Mhm.
In your question, you made it singular, employee empowerment, employee autonomy, where we'll talk about autonomous teams. That's a little bit different. You do need to build up that safety. And then it's, okay, what is the team? The organization may empower the team to work autonomously and say, you know what, you can make decisions for how and when you're going to work. Maybe it's a bunch of creatives. They're more creative at night. Okay, we're not going to have 8 a.m. meetings, but maybe we'll have 8 p.m. meetings, because then that's when we're in the flow. The organization doesn't care. They say, just get the work done by June 1st. So for me, it also bends a little bit if you pluralize it, that risk and blame versus reward, or driving to the same results.
Yeah. These two words, they're kind of interesting because of how close they feel. Like, I was kind of drawn to the concept that one comes from the other, right? Like, you have to have autonomy in order to be empowered. So it's almost like a qualifier. Like, well, if I'm empowered, I have to be given some level of autonomy, right? But it's interesting about isolation versus support in that nuance. I hadn't actually thought of it in that way, in that it's a sense of support as well. So it's not only about you having the authority, but also that you have the authority and support.
Oh, I love that point. So yes, I agree. If you have autonomy without having empowerment, you're basically left on an island on your own. Good luck. Oh, yeah.
It's like this isolation, really, right? And so you're on an island. We're playing with words here a little bit, right? But just interesting perspective on that.
Well, what it's telling me is that when we, and I use we very broadly, but when we as leaders talk about autonomy and empowerment, what do we mean? What are we actually saying? And then what are the people we're using these words with? What are they hearing? What are the expectations we're creating? I think that's the conversation we're trying to have.
Definitely. What is their understanding of what it is? And as Danica was saying, empowerment is given to you. So how are you going to receive it? What's going to be the communication between all of that?
Right. And in an autonomous team, it is empowered by the organization, or it should be, it needs to be. So if we're bringing in agile or lean ways of working, the organization at some point says, you know what, we're going to make this team, we're going to have the right mix for the job to be done in delivering value to whomever our, partner, customer is. And we're going to let them make a lot of their own decisions. There's going to be things that will affect the organization, but with how you work and communicate and get things done, that's up to you guys. And there is a lot that you can decide in that team. But I like what you said, Kondwani. It's like the empowerment comes first to keep that really healthy, because you don't exist on your own. And if you do in a work situation, it's probably a little bit risky, because at the end of it, it's like, well, who came up with this?
Yeah.
And have you clarified what that actually means?
Yeah.
To be autonomous. Okay, go do it. Wait, what just happened?
Yeah. I'm sort of sorry. You picked the wrong guy, because I won't stop talking. But I'm loving this in the terms of the quote unquote receivers of it, like the employee, right? Like, and how does the psychological impact of using these two different terms, how does that change how they receive and how they play and fulfill their role within an organization or within a situation, right? If you're telling somebody, hey, I empower you to do this, it does feel like there's some gravitas to that word, or it feels that there's maybe more gravitas to that word than, hey, you're autonomous. But coming back to what you were saying before, Danica, I wonder if that has the net effect as well of putting on more pressure, right? Like, because it's sort of like, I'm empowered, but maybe that's maybe I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
I know for me, if I see autonomy in a job description, that's a red flag. That is, we're going to put you out there and good luck. And if I see that, I start asking a lot of questions. I mean, not that I've, interviewed for a job in a long time, but when I talk to people, I'm like, what does that mean? When they say you have autonomy, what does that mean? And Glady, I love the point that you made earlier about, are mistakes learning opportunities, or are they blame opportunities? And I think that that's what you have to really look at with these two words. So that is our 10 minutes. So I'm going to cut us off there. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. It has been so much fun. And I look forward to speaking to each of you again super soon.